What Epstein list? There's no Epstein list, silly.
How every single American is not outraged. Well, actually, maybe they are. Maybe every single American is, because this is a blatant lie. Right?
I
don't know.
think so.
How? Jason.
Well, they claim the person that said it was they just had everything on the table. But, I mean, it seems like if they were going to hide something, that would be hide. It's
just like whole campaigns.
You know what they should have done?
We're going to expose the Epstein list.
They should have just made up the list of people they didn't like.
You know what? I think that would have been...
No, that would not be better.
That would not be better, but it would be more believable.
People, yeah.
But it would be more believable than a list just doesn't exist.
And are they playing semantics with it? Like, there was not a technical list, but we have all these records of people that were there and they surveyed and
I thought about that too.
Surveilled.
And as a former, I majored in PR. So anyway, what I'm saying is I don't think that is going to make it any better. There's not technically a list.
Right.
Nuh-uh. You've already put it out there. You've already let the public ingest it. This is asinine to me.
Well, and the fact that whatever documents, they were available last year this time.
And then there's just not one?
Well, they still have the same stuff, and there's a bunch of stuff out of Florida.
Well, maybe they should have said what's in the documents.
Yes, release it all.
I don't know who the person was that said, was it some judge? I don't know who it was that said, oh, well, we have it on our desk, but then they meant all the documents. Okay, what were the other documents then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, have full disclosure. I mean, obviously redact some names if it's like people that were proven innocent, maybe in some other types of lawsuits.
Yeah, because we already assumed who was there.
We know. Now,
sure.
You have to know because of
the flight log.
The flight logs.
Did they release all the flight logs?
No.
I don't know.
I haven't seen any of those.
I don't know.
Listen, I really don't want to turn this political, but the fact that Trump said in a press conference, oh, people are still talking about that? What? Excuse me? What do you mean?
Yeah,
are we still talking about that?
That's the biggest thing in the news right now. Not the
so
biggest.
Many people are talking
Texas
about
flooding, but
it has been the biggest thing that people are talking about.
Right.
And then you just made the announcement, or the DOJ made the announcement that there is no list. Of course, people are talking about it.
You got to ask the question. If you're a reporter, you got to ask that question.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's pivoting right there.
It wasn't even pivoting. It was like kind of like drawing more attention to it.
Or deflecting kind of.
And it wasn't even asked of him. It was asked of Pam Bondi, I believe. And then he jumped in. And then
who's Pam Bondi?
She's the
oh my God, the one who I think was in charge of saying.
What's the title?
Let me see.
Our official attorney, Lisa Lanier.
Attorney General.
Yeah,
I was like, God almighty.
Attorney General. I was like,
thank you.
The Department of Law.
Department of Justice.
Lisa's sitting there like, intro me.
I know. I was like, that's why my
tag me in. I can do this one. Tag me in.
I can't listen to this. He's the Attorney General of the United States.
I know.
And she went in this press. That's what you meant to say.
That's what you meant to say.
She went on this press conference in February and said that the list was on her desk.
Right.
And she's not the first one. Okay, so J.D. Vance has been for a long time talking about the list. So back during the election, he was actually trying to flip this on Biden and saying, why haven't you released the list? It's because it has Clinton in it and, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And it has your donors in it. And so, he was talking about the list way back then. But he was also talking about it around the same time, I think, that Pam Bondi was talking about it, after he was already vice president. And he went on Theo Vaughn's podcast and was talking about we need to release the list. So I think the issue is that they're playing semantics with it now. I think there's something that the administration wants to hide, probably. If you see all the photos where the president is with Epstein, there's a lot of them. And so it makes you think, is that what they're hiding? Or maybe they're hiding donors. I don't know. But I think they're playing semantics with it. Because think about it. Jeffrey Epstein did not keep a list like Santa Claus, right?
Right.
I mean, he was a smart man. So there was no list like that. But what there were date books, calendar books. There were flight logs. There were a million different ways that you can figure out who was there and who was involved. And there's tons of video. And what the administration is saying is, look, we can't release that because it contains child pornography. But you can absolutely identify who the perpetrator was in the video. without identifying
Right.
the child or showing the footage. So I think there's too many holes here to think that there's really not a list, but I think they're playing a little semantics game where they're like, I don't see an actual listing of all of the clients, because of course not.
But why wasn't the list even in the previous administration? Were they trying to hide the list too? Because everybody said there's a list and now there's no list. Why didn't they just have all the flight logs been released? Do you know?
No, I think they're all part of this big bound. At one point, Pam Bondi was waiving this big phase 1 of the investigation thing. I think all of that is in there, and I don't think anything's been released. And I think that the bottom line is that there are a lot of powerful people, probably on both sides of the political spectrum, who don't want this released, and it should be released. And the thing is, I don't know if it ever. But think about Ghislaine Maxwell, who's sitting there doing 20 years. And, if there's no list and we don't know who these kids were trafficked to, how did she get convicted and why is she still sitting there?
Exactly. That's such a great point. And then, she was keeping some sort of book.
Well, that doesn't mean that she knew that there was some sex trafficking going on, but that doesn't mean necessarily. Well, did they not go after anybody that was there? If she knew that she was
after her, yeah.
It's kind of like.
And here's the thing: her loyalty to him to Epstein was so great that I think, when she was on trial, he hired her attorney. And I think she was just being completely loyal to him. But why still? Why?
Yeah, he's not
I
here.
don't know.
I guess because she's convicted and she's sitting there. But I've heard that her attorneys are scrambling to try to use this "there's no list" to try to get her sentencing revisited.
But maybe.
Because,
didn't she get convicted on it with no list? Maybe she refused to admit who it was, but they had enough evidence that there was actual sex trafficking with the girls.
There was definitely evidence of sex trafficking, but Maxwell did all the arranging. She was on the island. She knew who the guests
were.
The
grooming,
She
yeah.
absolutely knew who they were. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she didn't just groom. I mean, that was the big thing. She was also, she would walk down the streets of New York and be like, oh, there's kind of a waifish, sort of lost but attractive little girl that looks like she just got off the bus from Idaho. I think I'm going to go talk to her.
Oh my gosh.
And, I mean, she was literally out there or she would go to, different establishments and try to figure out somebody. And she had, like any grooming, like any pedophile would do, she knew the ones, to find the ones that looked hungry and lost and that they could, but also attractive so that he could exploit them. And it's sick. But I think there's just too many powerful people right now, probably on both sides, that don't want this released, and it ought to be released. Mm-hmm. And I don't know really what Trump has to be afraid of, because of all the things he's been accused of. This isn't that shocking, really. I mean, it's really not.
Well, and plus,
does his constituency really care?
And people already assume it, right? So,
I don't know.
I don't.
No, because here's the
people
craziest part about Epstein. It's like, first of all, I don't understand how this guy had so much power. Like, how did he have so much influence? Because what they're saying is, at least in the flight logs, there was a lot of celebrities there, but there's no proof. A lot of this guy also just had like regular parties. I don't understand.
He did.
I don't understand how he got so big and his influence over these major political and celebrity. It doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean?
He's offering sex and access to girls.
Mean Epstein in general?
Because if let's say Will Smith was there and Will Smith had nothing to do with any of the sex trafficking.
Then he wouldn't be worried about being on any sort of list.
Right, he wouldn't be, but I'm just saying we can't automatically accuse Will Smith. And how did Epstein have that much power? Well, Will Smith was like, I want to go to the Epstein Island.
Because it's a free, you would take him up on it. I mean,
but Will Smith has enough money to go wherever he wants.
But it's the prestige.
Certainly some celebrities just went there to party, but others, it's kind of like the Diddy freak-offs.
Right.
I mean, there were celebrities who just went there to party and they didn't stay
but that's
and go
Diddy.
Once the lockdown
Oh, that was
happened.
me, by the way.
Jason was at one of the parties. But
the same thing is true here. I think he would fly people out there to schmooze them and to party, but some of them, would, I think, engage with the young girls.
But how did Epstein? P. Diddy is a big famous celebrity.
Jason, you're missing the point. But Epstein he just doesn't have the fame part of it. But
I gotcha.
He has the prestige and the poll, and
he pretended to be this.
Well, yes,
more
he knew
accomplished
everybody. He was the who's who.
But he's not famous.
It doesn't matter.
Well, what he did was he actually became very wealthy by. He conned people, and he would become their power of attorney, And this was it's such a simple, easy document that he would get from these wealthy, wealthy people. He made them think that he was this incredible investor, investment counselor, broker, and he would get their power of attorney and he would take all their money. But then he would have the stuff on them to hold over their heads or blackmail them. And I mean, he conned these people. And he also was obsessed with trying to know important people. He gave huge donations to all sorts of colleges and art colleges and art programs. And he really wanted to, he had this kind of like a Diddy image of himself, and he built that up. And he sort of had people believing it, I think, that he was this really powerful. He ran in some really powerful circles, and politically and financially.
We see it on, way smaller local levels where there are the who's who and people want to be involved and they want to be in the circle and they want to know, like to get those invites and to go to those parties and to schmooze with. It's everywhere. And he was one of those.
It might be hard to understand, but I don't think it is. But for some people, it might be like, what's better than a lot of money? More money,
and for them.
And they're like, "Oh, you're an investor. Oh, I can make more money with you."
No, I get that.
Bernie Madoff, like he scammed like Tom Hanks. I mean, like these big major people and smart people and wealthy people because they were showing these crazy returns, and they're like, "Oh, this guy's great because money." And then you take them to the island and maybe they engage in something. I think Ghislaine Maxwell. I thought someone in her family used to work for like a secret service of I thought Israel, but maybe I'm wrong about that. But where they would use sex and capturing that on video to blackmail important people.
Well, wasn't her father
Ghislaine
Maxwell's dad?
Her father was an arms trader, and he died under very mysterious circumstances where he was tossed off his yacht.
Naked on a boat.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so she came by it honestly?
I think.
That's the right term for it. But I will say this, and not to make it more political than it has to be, but I do think if the Biden administration knew Trump was implicated with Epstein, they weren't like, well, we don't want to let anyone else know that during election time. They would use it.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they would have other people on their administration side.
I don't know if it was worth it if it burned people if it burned either politicians or donors on their side.
I think it's dirty both sides.
It's dirty all around. Yep, I think it is totally.
And
that's why we're not seeing it.
And the fact that they can just make it disappear when it's so dirty on both sides, it just poof,
it is odd that they made a big deal. It's like as soon as on basically Inauguration Day that we're going to release this. Well, they said MLK or JFK, RFK, and Epstein, and then had binders of it, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, never mind. Like, what?
You just can't take it back.
Actually, that doesn't exist any longer. Yeah, that's what.
And then say like, what you still care about that?
Yeah, I saw.
Yep.
I know. I saw a meme. It was like Jeffrey Epstein killed himself because he was worried that he'd be found not guilty.
Right.
Right. I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, they said we landed on the moon. We bought that lie for a long time.
All right. So stop. We had a great conversation, and now you're taking us down the drain.
The moon.
Is there anything that you wouldn't put past people in power? Not
what
me.
was the other question?
It was about Diddy and his sentencing.
And the Diddy thing, though, there's similarities here where you know the name Lisa. He had a female groomer that wasn't charged with anything. I mean, alleged female groomer. And only one person with all these freak-offs and apparent all this stuff going on and RICO charges and all that, and they only charge one person, Diddy? I mean, come on. That's like hard to believe, too.
Right. And supposedly there were all of these celebrities that were involved in these freak-offs, and that all got suppressed, too. So, wealth, extreme wealth, and, exactly what the prosecutor was saying about the sentencing, it creates all sorts of corruption. And so, I think that's why those people, we were teased with it, and then we never heard it.
Yeah.
All right.
But he will not be sentenced until October 3rd. I know you wanted to know about that.
Yes.
It's a process. So this is normal. It's a process.
Okay.
So there are a bunch of little things administratively that have to happen. Probation officials have to complete these pre-sentencing reports, which include conducting interviews with Combs. This is all required. It's all normal. They usually allow a little bit of time for all that to take place, and the court's schedule. They don't just, this is where even with all his power and his wealth, they don't just go, oh, let's create a special docket day for Diddy. There are certain days when, like these days, this judge is hearing another trial, and so you have to wait, until, okay, this is the week that we've decided that we're having sentencing hearings. And so it just goes by the court calendar, and it's driven by the fact that they have these tasks to complete. And interestingly, both sets of attorneys agreed that there was no opposition to the October 3rd date. They all just decided to agree to it.
What happened to a speedy trial?
To it too.
What happens? It doesn't seem like doesn't the, I don't know if it's the Constitution.
He had a pretty speedy trial. I think he's done 10 months total. And that's actually pretty, for all that had to go on, and he gets a credit for time served. So whatever they sentence him to, all the time that he's been in there, he gets a credit for that. And between now and October 3rd, that clock's ticking. So it doesn't really have any consequence to him except the suspense factor of what's he going to be sentenced to, because whatever it is, he'll get credit for this time.
And will the prosecution and the defense, they will suggest, the defense wants no time served. No sentence at all. But do they make a presentation to the judge like, we are asking for this much time? I know it's ultimately up to the judge, but is that part of it?
Yeah, and the prosecutor has already come out and said that they're asking for 4 to 5 years. And even Combs has said, his attorneys, I think, have said 2 years, which, in either way, he's going to get credit for, a year, basically, of time served. So, and then he'll be eligible for parole, so he may not even do another year. So he'll be out.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I said to Jared, I was like, I guarantee you on sentencing day, that'll be the end of it for him.
I think you're right.
Don't you think?
Crazy, though. But
he won't serve much time. And his argument, I thought this was an interesting argument. His attorneys went back when they were arguing for an expedited sentencing. They were saying, well, look, he has kids with Kim Porter. Kim Porter's dead. Those children have no one parenting them. Like he was, daddy of the year.
That's when you know, as the defense attorney, you have no conscience.
Right,
you're just trying. You're throwing anything at the wall.
Stuff up, right?
You know what Diddy should do? Now, we come up with a lot of good ideas on the show. We don't ever make money from it, but Diddy should be so brazen when he comes out. He should buy Epstein Island. How awesome would that be?
Gosh.
And then
terrible.
have like bushes or like trees in like the middle, like made in the middle finger. So when you fly over it, it's like,
I don't think it's going to stop him.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
No, I think he will be more brazen.
Matt,
it's insane.
Matt, what was the question we were going to ask you? You said you wanted to ask Lisa today.
We've brought up, Lisa, about loosely what is the definition of cheating, and is it possible? I know different states have different laws that if you wanted to sue for possible alienation of affection, could you possibly do that against maybe OnlyFans or pornography or something along those lines?
It has, to my knowledge, it's not been done against a corporation or institution. It has been done against the individual because it has to do with, that person that interrupted the happiness of the marriage. And so the elements, you have to prove that you had a happy marriage, and then you have to prove that this person interfered and alienated that affection and took that affection away to them. And I think it would be hard to meet those elements for an institution, but the individual who works for the institution may help you hook the institution. And someone may have tried it in another jurisdiction. I don't think they have around here, but it has been done against mother-in-laws. That's been a kind of a novel way to do it, or in-laws in general. Not
a novel what?
But Lisa, when it comes to OnlyFans,
and they interfered with the marriage.
Right.
Yeah.
When it comes to OnlyFans, this is important of whether I stay here or move. Just kidding.
Oh,
no, I swear to you, I'm just kidding. But if you were having like a physical relationship where the person was getting nude on the other end, and you would say, "Oh yeah, I want you to do this, this, and this," has that not ever been a part of? Oh, because this girl did it, we're going to sue her because that's alienation of affection. Because honestly, she doesn't know. The OnlyFans person doesn't know. It's just the person buying the service.
Well, if she develops a relationship with the individual, because a lot of these people, they have a subscription, they have repeated contact, and it would have to be, where it evolved to a relationship with that person that stole their affection from their spouse. And I could see that potentially happening. You met this person through OnlyFans, but you became obsessed with them or whatever, and they started to alienate you from your spouse. It's kind of a stretch, but it could happen.
Yeah,
I see that as being more possible, basically, because you could go back and say, well, marriage was great, and then around this time is when they started subscribing to that channel, and here are all the instances after that subscription where things got worse.
And if the OnlyFans person's like, you need to leave your wife, and maybe they live in the same state or whatever.
Yeah, maybe that part.
And I'm sure OnlyFans people have hooked up, outside of that format.
We've had
that
OnlyFans people call. Sorry, Lisa, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
We had listeners that call in. They say they're part of OnlyFans, and they used to have men that will offer them a bunch of money to meet up for sex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they either do it or they don't do it.
That's prostitution at that point.
It's part of the subscription. That's the platinum subscription model. One meetup a month.
But the people that get sued for alienation of affection are people who are very wealthy, because you don't want to sue somebody. So I mean, you want to do it, judiciously, because some OnlyFans, whatever actors, models, whatever they are, they make a lot of money. I don't know if they make that kind of money that you want for an alienation of affection.
Some do.
Some do. There you go. Yeah, some do.
We do have one who just called in 2 weeks ago. We were shocked. We were asking people what they do and how much they made and what they went to college for. And she said, I didn't go to college, and I make, $40,000 a month on OnlyFans. She's like 22, and she just lives somewhere in the area. So she makes $500,000 a year from OnlyFans. It's crazy.
But that makes everybody depressed.
Is the exception for sure. Mm-hmm. Lisa, you're great. Tackled everything really well. We appreciate you. If you're ever injured, contact her right away at hireaheavyweight.com. Top 100 attorney in the entire country, and there's over 1 million attorneys. So that's insane to me.